Okay, what's going on, folks? Mr. Brunsvold here. So for this next lab, what we're going to be doing is looking at three different elements, and we're going to try to use the physical properties of those elements to determine whether each element is a metal, a nonmetal, or a metalloid. So let's take a look at our elements. We've got three of them right here. One of them is silicon, one of them is copper, one of them is sulfur. So go ahead and write down the name of each element on your lab sheet, and then write down what color you think each one is. And so maybe you need a little bit closer look. So that's silicon. Whoa, that's copper. And then for sulfur, I need to use what's known as a scupula because I don't want to touch that with my bare hands. Here we go, sulfur. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so then the next thing that we're going to look at is luster. Luster is a fancy word for shiny. So the shinier something is, the more luster it has, and the duller something is, the less luster it has. So let's take a look at these three one more time and try to determine which one is the shiniest. You'll rank that one as number 1, and then which one is the dullest, and you'll rank that one at number 3. So here we have silicon. Here we have copper. And one more time with the sulfur on the scupula. Okay, so rank them. Which one's the shiniest? That one has the most luster. Give that one a 1. Which one's the dullest? That one has the least luster. Give that one a 3. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at is malleability. So something that's malleable can be bent into different shapes. The opposite of malleable is brittle. And brittle means that when you try to bend it into a different shape, it just breaks apart. So one of these objects here, you can see I've already shaped it into some different shape. Well, I didn't shape it, but someone shaped it into a couple different shapes. And so that one is going to be the most malleable. So rank that one as number 1. The one that's the most brittle, when I use my scupula, it should break off into little pieces. So more. And so what you should have seen is one of them didn't break apart at all. One of them broke apart a little bit, and one of them broke apart super easily, like I hardly even had to press on it. So the one that didn't break at all, you're going to rank that one as the most malleable, and the one that broke the easiest, you're going to rank that one as 3, the least malleable. Okay, and so then the next property that we're going to look at is ductability. Is that what we call it, or is it just ductile on there? Let me look at the sheet. Oh, ductility. Ooh, that's kind of a tongue twister. Ductility. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, if a substance is ductile, that means that you can shape it into a wire. So one of these substances you can see is shaped into a wire. And then for the other two, you can sort of use the malleability experiment to sort of guess how easy they would be to shape into a wire, right? Typically, the more brittle something is, the tougher it's going to be to shape into a wire. So, you know, which which of the other two was the most brittle. Okay, and then our final experiment is conductivity, and we're talking about electrical conductivity. So we're going to judge these on how well they conduct electricity. So here I've got a multimeter. I kind of wish I had brought mine from home because I'm not super familiar with this one. Oh, you guys can't see that. Perfect, right there. And you should be able to read the number on there. So when it's reading 1, that means it's not conducting electricity at all. But otherwise, when you get a reading on here, so let me show you what it looks like when we get a reading on here with the scupula, which conducts electricity. When you get a reading on here, you'll see a number come up. The lower that number is, the better conductor it is. So when it's giving you a reading, you're looking for a low number. Okay, so my sulfur fell off a little bit here, so I just want to put that back on the table. Sulfur's a little bit dangerous. You don't want to touch it. Okay, so let's test them all for conductivity. So first we're going to do silicon. There we go. So you can see the numbers are kind of all over the place, but that should give you some sense of how high the conductivity is. Next, let's use copper, and I'm going to do the wire. Okay, and then last up we're going to do sulfur. Okay, so again, if it says 1 on there, that means it's not conducting electricity at all. If you get a reading and it's a high number, that means it's conducting electricity but not very good, because this is the resistance, so how resistant is the material to conducting electricity. And then if you get a reading and it's a low number, that means it has low resistance, so it's conducting electricity really well. So use that to rank the 3 from most to least conductive. 1 is the most conductive, 3 is the least conductive. And then see if you can try to identify which of these elements is a metal, which one's a nonmetal, and which one is a metalloid. If you have any questions, you know where to find me.